Welcome. Colin Thompson from RSP here to introduce you to today's speaker for this session on artificial intelligence. Mike Renick is a realtor with Mangrove Realty Associates. He began his real estate journey in 2011 with a successful 31-year business and IT career at General Motors under his belt. He brings a strong business and client-focused approach to the real estate field. His negotiating skills and knowledge of the market are second to none. But most importantly, he understands that in real estate, relationships are number one. Michael's passion and previous experience allows him to focus on finding and utilizing the latest and greatest technology to best understand who is ready for a real estate relationship, so he and his team can best serve them and their needs. He is always seeking out new and cutting-edge technological and social media tools in order to best serve his clients. In fact, his team has been ranked number 3 in the nation for social media use in the past. I guess you could say technology is Mike's passion, and it is his pleasure to use that passion each and every day to help his clients achieve their real estate goals and dreams. Welcome, Mike.
What I believe is very important in real estate is relationships. And the question is, how do we build relationships? How do we find out who wants to be in a relationship right now? Of all the folks that we've networked with, folks in our database, folks we're working with, not everyone is ready to buy or sell today. So the key in my mind is, how do we leverage software to find out who wants to do that? And artificial intelligence seems like a very technical, scary word, but it really isn't. And today what I want to do is I'm going to focus, we'll forget about my background. We're going to focus on the business side. So I want the session to be interactive. I'm going to ask you to participate. This is the beginning of our journey today. We're going to plant the seed of what artificial intelligence can do for us. We're not going to learn how to build artificial intelligence. We're going to learn on the business side of this, the business aspects. So our session is thought as a thought starter. If you leave with questions today, then I've achieved my goal. And you'll have my contact information if you want to reach out. I'd be happy to do that. So let's begin here. Is there anyone that would disagree with this statement that follow-up is the most important task we face as real estate agents? And disagreeing is okay. So would you agree? And I'd like to see in the chat how people feel about that. So I've got one comment from Maria. I appreciate that. How about the others? There we go. Could I also make this suggestion or make this proposal? Follow-up is something we never, and someone saying second most important, I can appreciate that. Very good. And I can agree with that. Is follow-up something we're all good at? Is follow-up something we like to do? And when I pause, I'm looking for responses. So I'm getting a lot of no's. In my 10-year career in real estate, I absolutely agree with that. I am very good at finding distractions so that I don't have to make my phone calls. I can find all kinds of excuses of things I want to do instead of the follow-up. But here's the key. When we connect with someone, and no matter how we connect with them, whether it's an event or it's a family member, someone that bought from us before, it's an internet lead that we bought, they're not ready to buy or sell immediately in most cases. So how do we nurture that relationship? How do we remain top of mind? How do we remain the go-to person that they come to with questions until they're ready to list their home or go out and see properties? And that's the key here with follow-up. And yet, I think if we would send out a survey to most real estate agents and they were honest, I think we would find that follow-up is something that we all need to improve upon. So what I'd like to do is, before we start getting into a discussion on artificial intelligence and how it can help with this, let's define follow-up. So I'm going to ask you in the chat here, and everyone can see the comments, how would you define follow-up? Let's agree on a common definition before we go forward. So how would you, go ahead and type into the chat, and that way we can all see, how would you define follow-up? Keeping top of mind, okay? Annalise, that's great. Who else? How would we define follow-up? Continue to reach out forever, okay? Marie, excellent. Anyone else? How would you define follow-up? Letting clients know that you care. Maury, excellent, excellent. All very good comments. So what we've just learned that there's different ways or there's different definitions, right? Staying in touch before, during, and after the buying and selling process. Fred, absolutely 100% correct. So how do we go about following up? What are the steps that we might do today? How do you follow up? And how often do you follow up? Is it a daily thing? Is it a weekly thing? It's when we have nothing else to do. How do you rank follow-up into your daily routine or weekly routine? And how do you go about doing it? What's the secret sauce for that? The hard part is months after you have sold, I do send out a magazine. Okay, Maury, excellent. What else do we do for follow-up? Schedule it. Okay. Fred, when you say schedule it, it's schedule what? Is it a meeting, get together for coffee? Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Christmas cards? Maury, good, very good. What do we do the rest of the year for following up with our clients? Birthday cards, excellent. Campaigns, phone calls, emails, gifts. Annalise, very good. Maury, I agree. See, that's the challenge. What is a good follow-up process? And part of this next hour that I want to spend together with everyone, newsletters, very good, is talking about a good, thorough understanding of follow-up before we introduce the technology. Because technology is not going to solve anything for us in and of itself. We have to have a disciplined process in place in order to make this happen. So based on what we've just shared, some of the comments that you've made, and thank you for the participation, I appreciate that. Based on what we've shared, we kind of have a good understanding that there's many ways to follow up. There's not a one recipe fits all. And frankly, what works for me, there's probably something different that works for each of you. And the correct answer is the right follow-up is the one that we're going to do, right? Would everyone agree with that comment? The follow-up process we employ in our day-to-day is the one that we're going to actually make happen. Okay. All right, so let's go on from there. So let's talk about a strong follow-up process. Again, I want to cover the basics before we get into technology. So we talked about some things, and let me share here. And this kind of looks like a complex slide. It's the sales funnel. We've all heard of top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. You'll see that in the middle, past clients on the left lower corner. If you look at top of the funnel, those folks that we first meet that may not buy for a while, we call that maybe walking. Would you agree that follow-up with those folks who are further down the road might be different than someone who's going to buy in the next 3 months? Is that a fair statement? Would everyone agree with that? Okay, I'm getting good comments. I like that technical word. Yeah, that's the word I use all the time. I like that. Very good. All right, so when we come into the middle of the funnel, they may be looking more at like 10 to 14 months out. We call that consideration or jogging. That follow-up would be a little bit different than what we're going to do for someone farther down the road. And when we come down to the bottom, that's called the decision process, or if you look at the walking, jogging, running analogy on the right-hand side, they're closer to making that decision to list their home or to buy. So our process for each of those should be different. Any disagreement at all whatsoever? Okay, so nothing controversial so far. We all agree, point number one, that follow-up is essential. Number two, there's at least 3 or 4 different kinds of clients. If we categorize clients, you've got top of the funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. You've got past clients that are all important. The last 2 years here at Team Renick, and there's 2 of us, Eric and myself, 50 to 55% of our business have been from past clients, either rebuying another home or condo or referring a friend or a family member to us. So that part of the past clients is an all important part of what we want to do for our follow-up process. All right, any questions so far? We're going to go deeper. Any questions whatsoever? Okay, I see none. Here's the secret sauce. There's lots of different ways to follow up. What they're teaching today in all the coaching sessions and on the national conferences, hyper-local content. If we create things that are happening, or we capture things that are happening, it could be, we just finished Halloween. There was a lot of pumpkin fairs and things like that. We actually produced a video here on Sarasota's haunted past, if you would. We did a 2-part series on that. But everyone is teaching about videos, or teaching about hyperlocal content. They're talking about the real me, who we are when we're not wearing our real estate badge, knowledge brokers, what's the market, what's happening, what homes are available on the market, things like that. Hyperlocal, I talked about. Social proof, that has to do with testimonials from our clients. We can share those. Agent behind the scenes. Like, for example, I could have a videographer in here filming me leading this podcast, if you would, or this webinar. Those are things like agent behind the scenes. What else would you guys add to this in terms of we could do to send out to our clients to say top of mind? What other ideas do you have? I'd like to see everybody kind of chime in. Each one of us approaches our book of business differently, and I'd like to see what you do. So how do we do it? Social media, very good, excellent. I've heard about that. That might be that Facebook and Twitter and Instagram kind of thing. Cards, phone. Jessica, you use that nasty word that all real estate agents don't like, and that's phone. I appreciate you bringing that up because I'm going to go deeper on that, Jessica. So thank you for that. I think I can make a premise that we all pretty much do not like making phone calls day in and day out. So look at you're seeing the comments from the participants on the screen. Every one of those is correct. So the message I'd like all of us to carry away is that follow-up can be different. And it really comes back to what I said a minute ago. It has all about what we want to do. What's your market? Like here, I'm based out of Longboat Key. Much of our sales are second home markets. My buyers aren't here. Many of my sellers aren't located here. So when I create the videos that are the happenings in Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakewood Ranch, Venice, and the islands, they like that. And we send it out through social media. We send it out through email campaigns and stuff like that. It's all part of follow-up. But this is generically now. We're just talking more high level, whether you're top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Okay. Social media, someone mentioned that, Jessica did. So how many people are actually posting on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Twitter, or LinkedIn? Marie says we can't see everything. Okay, I'll read some of them. I apologize for that. I didn't realize that, Marie. So Marie is suggesting all of them can be used, and I agree. What else? Facebook and Instagram, Fred is using those. Very good. All right, so now everyone can see the chats. Thanks, Gina. Lori used company paradigm. I'm not sure I understand that. If you could explain that, that would be helpful for that. See, what we have available today is we can reach Keeping Current Matter. I actually use that, Maury, and I put that out there every day. I think that's a great organization to be a part of, especially when you want to keep tabs of the national market and you want local content to put out there. So the advantage we have today, it doesn't just have to be email. And I hope everyone has a very robust email program, marketing campaign out there. That's a software. Okay, Maury, thank you. So content marketing versus email. We send out once a week, we send out an email that includes a video that we created locally. In addition, we can reach the globe, correct? Through social media. Okay, so I think we would all agree that there are many channels we can use to reach our clients and prospective clients. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay. One of the words I'm going to try not to use is the word leads. I'm very active on internet prospecting, if you would, prospecting. But when we look at a client that comes in through an internet process that we have, they're not considered a lead, they're considered a prospective client. It's a real person. When you take that mind shift, if you would, and realize that's a client, on the ground analogy would be someone just walked in your office door and is standing at the receptionist desk. You wouldn't call that person or refer to that person as a lead, and we don't do that here when someone new comes into our software. All right, so what I talked about, for just real quickly, for the email campaign, and I'll build into artificial intelligence very soon. For top of the funnel, you can send out new listings, open house announcements, price reductions, investment opportunities. Middle of the funnel, agent rants and raves, things that you're talking about, things you agree with, things you don't agree with, how-to videos, how to buy an investment property, how to walk through an inspection process the correct way, and so on. Market updates. We all have access to MLS and the tremendous amount of data that we can get from our IDX feeds. Bottom of the funnel is community events, social proof, testimonials. We try to film most of the comments now coming from our clients. Instead of typing them in and sending them to Zillow, we film them and we feature them on our real estate website. Local merchant highlights, things like that. So I just wanted to share why an email campaign is important. Email campaigns are probably the least expensive way to stay following up with your clients. It's one of the highest return on investments, or ROI, because there's very little cost to an email campaign. Any questions about that? What I'm doing here is building upon the fact that artificial intelligence isn't the panacea, the final solution. All of the above happens, and we add artificial intelligence to it. So does this stuff work? The things we've talked about, the funnel, all of that. Let's take a look, and I'm going to give it from my perspective. This webinar is not about me. It's not about what I may or may not have accomplished. It's about what you can do to help your book of business. But I do want to show you some evidence that this stuff that I'm talking about, there's that technical word, this stuff might work. All right. And I'm not sure how well this slide shows up, but I have almost 80,000 contacts in my database. If you look here at the number that's circled on the left-hand side, a few weeks ago when I took a snapshot, 22,000 people were actively crawling on my website. Would you agree that's a big number? The follow-up process I'm sharing, when it's done consistently and done diligently, can drive these kind of results. Who would like to have 22,000 people crawling their website looking for properties? Would anyone disagree anyone agree that that's a bad thing? No, Jessica, I appreciate the comment, Jessica, but it's not about Mike here. It's about what this can do for all of us. Okay, and I'll leave my contact information for people that want to go deeper. But the key is here is we drive folks looking on our websites. That's half the battle. They know who we are. These folks know who Team Renick is. They're crawling our website, right? Jessica, that's correct. The higher number, the more opportunity to be of service. The higher number of people to follow up. Would everyone agree with that? So we want to drive people to us. And when we drive folks to us, we now have to follow up. We have to be of service. All right, let's go farther. All right. So who's ready to take your current follow-up level to the next, your follow-up process to the next level? Who's ready to do that? Capital M-E from Marie. Very good. Anyone not interested in going to the next level? No matter what I do. So my follow-up process a year ago was different because what I did then doesn't work today. What I do today probably won't work in a year. What I promise my clients and my team is that we're going to be one of the first ones to the new process. But it's all about changing. It's all about learning. So let's take a look at this. Okay. So I decided when I got up this morning, I want to use the phone and I want to talk to my clients. Okay. Anyone ever have that feeling that you want to reach out and you want to talk to some folks today? Would that be one of the good follow-up tools we want to use? Everyone agree with that? Okay. So who do I call? In my database, how do I determine who to make a call? How would you guys do this? What are your answers? What are your responses? When you sit down at your desk, and I was on the phone most of the morning talking to clients, and I'll share my process in a minute, but how do you determine who you're going to call? Usually alphabetical, top sphere, and people ready to buy or sell. Jessica, how do you know who's ready to buy or sell? All of these are good comments. Depends where they are in the funnel, who's ever active in my database, circle prospecting. All excellent, right answers, okay? Group them, group A and then group B, okay? So, and these are right. So how do we determine who's ready to buy? How do we determine who's group A and who's group B? Ask the right questions, they will give clues, okay? All right answers, very good. But it's more complex than that. Look at these numbers. 80,000 people in my database, 22,000 that are crawling the website. Who do I call? I want to sit down this afternoon after this webinar, and I want to go back on the phone. I want to put my ear pods back on. I guess they don't show up in the virtual screen we have here. And I want to spend some time talking to clients that are ready to talk to me. I want to utilize my time efficiently. So how do I do that? How do I do that? How would you do that? What specific thing would you do? On Boomtown, there's now a wall for those looking at properties. Excellent. I like that. Very good, Maury. Maria, I'm going to answer that question in just a second. So when you sit down in the morning, what step are you going to take to know who to call? Messages is another place on Boomtown. Okay. And I've heard great things about that, Maury. I have no experience with Boomtown. I apologize, but I like that. So there is a methodology. Remember, with these numbers, 80,000 people in the database, 22,000 actively crawling the website. Who do I call? Very good, Maury. I appreciate what you're sharing. So let me show you my approach. And again, what I'm going to share is my approach. I'm not proposing that it's the best. I'm not proposing that everyone should jump on it, but I am proposing that it has worked. Okay. So who do I reach out to? Let's introduce artificial intelligence, or AI. Okay. Sounds like a really scary thing. Let me share this with you. Remember in the past, everyone said you got to do video, create videos. Every conference I went to, every place I traveled to, got to do videos. And today, videos aren't leading edge. Let me propose this. Artificial intelligence is no longer leading edge. I've been using it here at Team Renick actively for over a year. So that's how important this is. This has changed our numbers substantially because we have artificial intelligence involved. So let me go on and share more. Okay. So here's a technical definition, and I promise you I'm going to spend very little bit of time on this because we want to look at the business side. It says in computer science, artificial intelligence, sometimes called machine intelligence, is intelligence demonstrated by machines in contrast to the natural intelligence displayed by humans. Leading AI textbooks define the field as the study of intelligent agents, any device that perceives the environment and takes actions. I read all that stuff and I still haven't a clue what artificial intelligence is. Would you agree? That's why I put this slide in here. I can read all of that stuff. It talks about cognitive functions, artificial intelligence, but this doesn't teach me anything. Does everyone agree with that? I still don't, looking at this formal definition, have an understanding of what artificial intelligence is and how it can help me as an agent. Would you agree with that? I want to see everyone respond to this. Does this slide really help us get where we want to go? No, it doesn't. And I threw that in there purposely. All right, let's have some fun and let's get into this. All right, I'm going to come back and show examples of artificial intelligence because I think that'll be the most effective. But is there a fit in real estate? And I've got some links down here, and I believe they're going to send the PowerPoint slides out. But this slide proposes if you work in real estate, then you need to be aware of AI, even if it's just a potential threat. And it's not a potential threat anymore. It's been here for a while. AI is actually at its most effective when working alongside humans. That's what I'm trying to propose during this hour. This goes in addition to everything we've talked about. It doesn't replace them. The most successful real estate companies are likely to be the ones who accept this and which embrace AI. So we can read the rest of the slide. I'm going to go on in just a second. But there was 3 months during this year where sales were down over 40%, over 30%, and there was another month they were down over 5% on a macro level, looking at Sarasota and Manatee County. But yet I introduced artificial intelligence of November last year. We continue to perfect how we use that. And our sales are up about 25% in a overall down year. And I have to propose that artificial intelligence is part of that. This morning, when I look at I get a newsletter. We all get a newsletter every morning talking about Florida real estate. And there was a great article in there. I've got the link on here. AI and real estate, is there a fit? Real estate conversational AI can convert prospects to buyers. An effective artificial intelligence program can build meaningful relationships. So all I want to do at this point is bring us to the fact that we need a strong follow-up process. We need to continue the things we've been doing and maybe add to it. And now it's time to introduce artificial intelligence. And let's really get to the meat of what this is. There's 2 types of processes that I have. In my database, when a certain behavior occurs, I receive an alert. Would everyone agree knowing who the active candidates are would be beneficial? 80,000 people, 22,000 crawling the website. Would it be beneficial to know who might be interested in buying or selling, or who wants to talk to Mike today? Would that be helpful to you? Beneficial and necessary? Yes. Okay. How about the rest of you? When you sit down, let me share how we did this in the past, because it was the best tool I had. I would go into MLS every morning and I would look 24 hours earlier who was active in the searches I've set up. Has anybody done that? Has anyone used MLS saying, if someone's active in the searches, that might be a good person to call? That kind of makes sense. It does. And MLS is a very good tool. And yes, so Susan, you're right. So that's what we used in the past. But here's the thing. I have clients that are actively searching that might not buy for 2 years. So if I have 50 people that have been active in the past 24 hours, I want to focus on the ones who are ready to buy sooner or ready to talk to Mike because they have questions. Does that make sense, everyone? We want to take that good data and we want to take it to the next level. So we had a good start with MLS, and it provides a lot of good information. But that was last year's process. This year, we've taken it to the next level. So I have 2 processes I use. Certain behavior occurs, I receive alert from my database. And I also have a bot. So we've all heard of like Facebook Messenger. You can automate that. And I think I have a slide in the deck and we talk about some of those. So there's 2 types of artificial intelligence, 2 processes I want to share about. Everyone makes sense that there's 2 things to take a look at here that could be helpful? In the first one, what's happening is the bot is crawling the database, looking for activity on my website and sending me an alert. And I'll show you some alerts in a minute. The second one is I have a bot actively engaged in conversation with my clients. Now, 18 months ago, if someone said, would I be comfortable letting a bot interface with my clients via text? I would say absolutely not. The clients deserve my personal attention. The technology has come so far, it is so advanced today that when the bot is engaged, and my bot's name is Raya. Raya stands for Real Estate Artificial Intelligence, and I forget what the YA stands for. But it's become so advanced, and Raya continues to learn. We've all heard of the Amazon bot and things like that. I could say the word. I'm going to go out on a limb and use the word Alexa because I'm sitting in the room where Alexa is, and every once in a while she'll engage when I use that word. But those are all things we can start using now when we come into artificial intelligence in our database. So what I'd like to do is do a deep dive into these things. But let me just pause for a second. Are there any questions about, is follow-up necessary? Some of the things we talked about with social media and email campaigns. And now we're ready to take it to the next level. Are there any questions I can address before we go deeper? And if you have no question, if you would type in the box that there's no questions, that would be helpful. Okay, looks like no question. So would everyone agree that if we can find when behavior is occurring in our database or on our website, that would be helpful? That's point number one. Knowing the activity, and I'll show you some of it, but when we can record, not physically record in the database certain activity, we can prioritize what we would consider bottom of the funnel behavior versus top of the funnel. And also, point number two, if we have a bot actually working in the database, 80,000 people out there, okay? Of the 80,000, 35,000 has provided their contact information to me voluntarily. The other part of the 80,000 is data I've brought in that we do soft retargeting, remarketing on Facebook too. Just kind of warming them up, if you would, in case they want to buy or sell down the road. They continue to see my ads. So when we look at what we have here, I want to know when certain behaviors are occurring, and I also want to jump in when my bot is engaged with my client. So the bot may be reaching out to, of my 80,000, 400 people right now that my bot is actually Raya's engaged with my clients, and there could be 400 people she's texting to, and maybe 300 and whatever doesn't respond. They're not ready for a conversation, but the ones that do respond, that technology has taught me they're ready for a conversation. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you see the beginnings of how this might be helpful? Okay, let's go on. So this slide talks about when a certain behavior occurs. And this is an example of an alert I get. Would you agree that when this client looked at that property 4 times? Laurie, the answer is yes. And it's really the technology that resides outside of the CRM. The CRM is the recording instrument, if you would. So here's somebody that I've got an alert that said this person has looked at that property in Holmes Beach 4 times. Would that be an important piece of information for me to know? Yes or no? Again, someone's looked at it 4 times. Okay. And see, Boomtown, it sounds, Maureen, again, I have no experience with Boomtown, but it seems like that's another great platform that's applying the artificial intelligence technology, the architecture. Excellent. I'm happy to see that. And there's others too. Okay. So here's one that saw property 4 times. I may want to pick up the phone and call this client. I blocked out the number because of privacy laws and stuff like that to protect who they really are. But on this person, I have full name, email address, and phone number. And the number has been validated by my artificial intelligence to be correct. So I have all the information, and they supplied it voluntarily under the regulations we have now so that we can text and all those kind of things. So this process is completely legal. All right, so here's another one. This person saw this home in Venice 7 times. Now, think about that. If you're sitting there and you go back on 7 different occasions and you look at this home, could we deduce that that person might have a serious interest in that? Does that make sense? Yes or no? Seven times, right? Now, remember, in the past, I would sit down and I would call people active in MLS. Now I can sit here and say, this person has looked at a property 7 times. Now, in my database, I have the whole story on this person, times I've talked before, things we've talked about, listings I've sent them, and so on. But this person is probably closer to a buy or a sell than someone who's not active. Now, getting this information is just the beginning. What would you do if you knew someone had seen this 7 times? What are some of the ways you may elect to react to this person? What would you do? Call them. Okay, I like that. Call. Any other response? How do you make sure the people who are engaged are ready to buy with the bot? How do you segment the buyers into different funnels? And Michael, this is part of how we do this. This person, if they looked at that property 7 times, they're farther down the funnel than the others. Okay. Annalise has set them up on a custom campaign for similar properties. Actually, my artificial intelligence, the bot does that for me automatically, Annalise. All of these answers are great ones. All of these comments are good, but my bot takes it to the next level. When someone is in the search, like in MLS, I used to set up a search. Now I set it up in my software. And so if I set them up looking at 2 bedrooms, 2 bath condos in downtown Sarasota, and they're on my website and they start branching out looking at the same in Longboat Key, my artificial intelligence expands that saved search to include all the above. It's about providing them with what they're looking for without myself having to go in there. Would you guys find that useful if that was happening in for your clients? See, that's how we can take this technology to the next level. Let me share this. So one of the things I never would do is call up this person. Let's say that the person's name is Tom and say, hey, Tom, this is Mike. I just saw you were looking at 335 Melrose Court. I would never do that. That spooks them. It's going to give them the feel that we're watching everything they're doing, even though some of it we are, some of it we aren't. So what I may do is wait till later in the day or the next day, and I may just reach out on the phone and say, hey, we've been looking at Venice together. Is there a need to change your search? You know, they don't know that it automatically moves itself and regenerates, but I can offer to get involved with that. Another thing I might do is I have software that will do a market snapshot, and I may send it to Tom on the area around Melrose Court. It's all about what can I provide? What can I help them with? It's not about being salesy or trying to sell them, calling them up and say, Tom, you looked at this house 7 times. When do you want to go see it? Wrong approach. Everyone agree with that? It's what can I contribute to them? It's all about contribution. What can I help them with? What are they looking for? Does that make sense? Yes or no? Okay, let's look at another one. This is where this technology is today. It's not leading edge. I've been using this for a year. So let's come back. And so this lead, let's say Pamela, let's say that's her name, came back after 26 days of inactivity. So Pamela is now looking on my website. Would that be useful information? Yes or no? Do you start to get the feel on how this technology, we don't care how it's built. I don't care how it's coded. In my past, I know how it's coded, but I don't care anymore. I'm looking at how I can use this to most utilize my time, because there's 24 hours in a day and I'm not going to call for 24 hours. I want to utilize my time most effectively. So I don't want to call John, who's not ready to have a conversation with Mike, and bother him. In this case, Pamela may or may not be interested. She came back after a 26-day absence. I can go into her record and see what she looked at. She's someone I may consider giving a call. Okay? Makes sense, everyone? Yes or no? There's a lot more. Can you start to see how this will help make your day more structured, more effective, maybe even a little more fun? Isn't it better when you're making phone calls to connect with someone that wants to talk to you than it is interrupting someone who's at dinner or in a meeting or something like that, or just getting a voicemail? Doesn't it make phone calling a little bit more fun when you're actually reaching out to clients who are actively engaged? Remember, 80,000 people, 22,000 calling the website, they all do not want to talk to Mike. Does this make sense? Yes or no? Okay, let's go a little further. Here's another one where they came back. Pamela came back after 26 days. This lead came back after 14 days. Certain events have been defined by the software. I get an alert. Now, I have different ways on how I act on each one of these, and we don't have time this afternoon, unfortunately, to go that deep. But depending on the type of alert I get, and I also have a call center set up to help with let me be really candid, with 80,000 people in the database, 22,000 or so active, I physically can't make those phone calls myself. So I have a professional call center set up that reaches out to them. who actually connects and schedules appointments for me. So that's part of the solution, but that's outside of our artificial intelligence. So another example here. How about this one? Here's a lead that hasn't done anything in my database for a long, long time. I continually post ads, if you would. And earlier today, we saw a session on how to do Facebook ads. It's called remarketing. So I upload my database to Facebook and I send very soft push ads, just little things about Mike and the real estate market, never in your face. And let me take it one step further. The technology that I use allows me, we put dynamic ads. So if you come in as one of my clients and you see a certain condo today, and you're back online later this afternoon and you see another ad, it's a different condo, and that condo matches what you're looking for in my database. So that's dynamic ads. That's another whole use of technology outside of artificial intelligence, but we take it to that level. Remember what I said in the beginning. Real estate is about all about relationships. That's why I'm not worried about Zillow, Redfin, iBuyer programs, none of that stuff, because it's relationships, and only good real estate agents can provide relationships. But the technology, the tools allows us to leverage it even further. Okay. So a remarketing campaign, this lead, or it could be a lead I imported from Cole Realty data, who saw my ad, that clicked on it, that got engaged, filled out my form, is now active in my database. Let me share this. I imported a high number of leads from Cole Realty data. It's all legal, it's above board. I brought in their email addresses and I remarketed to them on Facebook. Within 2 months, within 60 days, I had my first closing. And I thought those leads would be 1, 2, 3, 4 years down the road, all soft touches. But I had my first closing already, and I enjoyed, Eric and I took her out to dinner earlier this week. It's the client that we engaged with because of using the technology of importing the data from Cole, using the remarketing and retargeting. And let me define that. Retargeting and remarketing, I use those words to mean the same. They're synonymous. It's nothing more than putting them out on Facebook and sending ads to them from a very soft touch. And when they're ready, they click on that ad and they engage by filling out my form. Does everybody understand retargeting and remarketing? Very huge part of what we do to get to where we are today. Any questions on remarketing, retargeting? Okay, looks like none. So let's go on. All right, so I said number 1 and number 2. So a bot is actively working in my database. So here's an example of different texts that the bot has sent out and didn't get a response, and that's okay. Knowing someone's not ready to engage is as important as knowing someone is. So this one says, "Hi, Laura." That's the client's name. "This is Michael's assistant with Mangrove Realty Associates. I saw you viewed some properties on our website and online in Siesta Key. Are you looking for yourself or a friend?" Just a soft touch, reaching out. Can we be helpful? No response. The next one was, "Did someone use your number by mistake? Is this not Laura?" We get, sometimes people will fill out someone else's information. "This is Michael's assistant again. I might have found a few properties that could work in Siesta Key on our website. Here's a link." My bot, my technology, the artificial intelligence, created that link that replicates what Laura has been looking for. Isn't that really cool stuff? This is all happening behind the scenes without me, without Mike being engaged. Isn't this kind of is there anybody, let me ask it this way. Do you see the value of this? Yes or no? Everyone respond, please. Do you see the value of this working out there all the time, helping me understand who wants to have a conversation? Non-threatening text, non-invasive text, all very formal, if you would. Okay, let me go on. Here's another example. And I apologize, the screen might be a little short with the way small with the way I have to do this. But it says, the bot says, "How's your search coming along, Jessica?" Remember, they're using their name. "Forgive me if you've already spoken to Michael recently. I am the assistant, wanted to see if you'd like to set up a phone call." Okay. Jessica responds, "Hi there. We haven't spoke to Michael. I'd be happy to set up time to chat." And then my AI, Raya, goes on to say, "What time works for you?" Based on this, then they will book time on my calendar for me to speak to, in this case, Jessica. Remember, they're going through 300 people, maybe simultaneously, and a whole bunch are not responding, and that's okay. But they found Jessica. So I didn't have to make 50 phone calls to find Jessica. The bot did this for me. You see value in that? Yes or no? Is this helpful in terms of what AI can do for us? Not all may seem confusing, and heck, I would agree with that. But we buy this software. It's not something we're going to go out and code. Okay. David, thank you. I agree. And you can probably hear the inflection of my voice. I get excited when I talk about this. Marie, you're saying it hits the right targets. It's all about finding who wants to have that relationship with Mike. There's a study that I saw that says one person can only have intelligently about 100 relationships, business and personal at a time. At my advanced age, I think that number is somewhat smaller, maybe significantly smaller. But using artificial intelligence helps me find out who they are. And it's using it the right way. Here's one, we got a message. This morning I learned, and this happened today, COVID has hurt my business very bad. The bot reached out to this client named Richard. I stepped in at that point. I took over the chat because I got the alert that Raya was engaged and this message came through. And I sent my apologies and said I was sorry to hear that. And it continued on between Richard and myself. But this is another advantage. I can stop the machine and I can introduce myself. See the value in that? Yes or no? So let me propose this. We've taken follow-up, and I'll propose that it's a boring subject. It's boring to do sometimes, or it's hard for us to sit down and make it. I struggle with the same things. I propose that on all the participants, I am the best here at finding a distraction so I don't have to do follow-up. Oh, I need to make a dentist appointment. I need to schedule a root canal. Oh, someone's at the door. Oh, this, oh, that. I'm really good at finding ways not to follow up. Maury's disagreeing with me. Thank you for that, Maury. I appreciate that. We're all probably really good at not following up. So this takes it to the next level in terms of introducing alerts when clients are doing certain behavior and also engaging with the text. Here's another one, and this is getting hard for me to read. Let me just expand just a little bit here, and I'll come back. Here's a client that said, hi, I was looking for my mom and daughter-in-law. They're just starting to look. I don't know how serious they are. And Raya engaged and said, gotcha, I really totally understand. See, the point is she's carrying on the conversation. I ultimately jumped in the lower right-hand corner and said, hey, Crystal, this is Michael. I just saw the text you sent to my assistant. I completely understand. See, I'm validating what they shared. Please feel free to use any of my online tools that you find helpful. My cell number is, and I give out my cell number. If you need anything at all, questions, concerns, etc., I give it out so that you have a time, so you can reach me when it's convenient for you. I'm really big on saying that to my clients. I want them to reach me when it's convenient for them. I have a corporate number. I have 4 zeros and a corporate number at the end. It's on my website probably, but I want my clients to have my cell number. Nothing to do with artificial intelligence, just another step that I take. Now, I was part of a group that was teaching younger agents never to give out your personal cell, never to take calls after 6 o'clock. Let me just share this, a little bit of a side. Been in this business for 10 years. I have a whole lot to learn, but I've always given out my personal cell. I've taken calls after 6 o'clock, and there has not been one time in 10 years that somebody abused that. So just the fact that my clients know they can reach out is a big, huge benefit. It helps separate us from our peers out there. Because isn't real estate marketing all about degrees of separation? You know, Michael's on the call, Susan's on the call, Fred's on the call, Mike Renick is on this call. We all want to be a little bit different so we can go after our share of the market. Does that make sense, everyone? Yes or no? Everyone agree? And we all have different ways of doing that. All right, so here, and I think we're going to send these out, but here's some examples of bots. Facebook Messenger. Chime is very good with that also. Kelly, which is a Keller Williams app. I've been part of Keller Williams in the past. And Ylopo, which much is what I'm talking about right now, I'll share with you, comes from Ylopo. That's the software that I use. There's many, many more out there today. And again, in the beginning, I shared this isn't leading edge anymore. In order to compete as we go forward, we need to leverage technology so that we know who wants to have a relationship with us at this time. We're getting close to the end of the hour. I've got a business case here I can show. Tristan is a friend of mine. He's a national real estate agent. He hosts all kinds of webinars. And he did a study like this. I met him out in the West Coast a while ago, and I can go through that. But what I want to do at this point, because it's about 55 minutes into the webinar, I want to stop for questions. What's important to me is addressing your concerns with this. This is, I throw a lot of stuff at you, and I get excited when I talk about it. But from your perspective, what questions do you have on this? We have a lot of comments about Boomtown. That's another piece of software I've heard of and didn't know it did some of these things. So I enjoyed learning with that. Maury, thank you. Is there anybody here today that's used a bot or any type of artificial intelligence? Yes or no? Jessica, would you care to share what it may be? KV Core, Annalise, okay. That's a new one to me. See, let me share a secret. You can't tell anyone. The reason I like hosting these webinars is because I learn so much. One of the things I'm going to do, because I wrote that down, KV Core, is I'm going to learn about that now. I love to learn, okay. Jessica said I had a custom bot built for my company. Outstanding, because that way, Jessica, you can tailor it to your specific value add. I love that. That's excellent. KV Core, Jessica also uses. That's definitely one I'm going to jump all over. EXP Realty provides, Annalise. Excellent. Now, so here's the key. Let me share this and continue if you're using it to put it in the chat. Having this is one thing. Leveraging the living daylights out of it is something different. Would you agree? How do I use this? So I've got Raya jumping all through my database having conversations. But if I don't do anything with those, that's a huge missed opportunity. Yes or no? Do you agree with that? Ah, Jessica, I do too. It's taking these and then taking it to the next level. How do I leverage this? How do I use this? How do I get the alerts? How do I know what to do with each alert and so on? Okay. Does that make sense? This is just the beginning. I've shown you some of the things. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what artificial intelligence can do. Let me step away from real estate for a second. Using the Amazon bot, Alexa, in the morning, very simply, when I'm leaving to go to the office, when I used to go to the office before COVID, Alexa, turn off the lights. Alexa, unlock my front door. Alexa, start my truck. And she does all of those kind of things for me. Alexa, stop. See, I shared them sitting in the same room. Jessica, she knows so much about me too, and that's a scary thing. But see, we're using this technology to make life easier, right? We're using this technology to become more successful. We're using this technology so that when we sit here and we decide to make phone calls or send out emails or whatever, we know who's more engaged. Let me share as we come down to the final minutes in the hour here. Someone asked that, the follow-up, we talked about top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Here's another approach. Every client that gets turned over to me by my call center that's ready to talk to me, I grade them one of three ways: hot, warm, or cold. A hot client is going to buy, they believe, in the next 90 days. A warm client is going to buy between 3 months and 9 months. A cold client plans to buy 9 months or longer. And I have a follow-up in my software, again, technology, that all of my hot clients are presented to me for a touch point every 6 days based on the last time I touched them. So not everybody gets touched the same day. There's a client that comes in today that's hot. There's a client that came in 3 months ago, but I physically touch them with a phone call, a text message, an email, or I send them a couple of listings that fit their interest every 6 days. My warm clients, remember I shared warm clients are 3 months to 9 months. They get touched every 15 days, 12 or 15 days. It's programmed into my software. And my cold clients get touched every 21 days. That's all part of a successful follow-up. But when you follow up at those touch points, 6 days, 12 or 15 days, 21 days, it's about providing value. So that's another thing I encompass on top of the artificial intelligence. Follow-up process can be very effective. It can be very complex. But when you go to Boomtown or you go to KV Core, you come to Ylopo, you go to EXP, from what they provide, you leverage these tools, you put them on autopilot. Every morning I come in and my calls are ready for me in terms of who I have to call, who are my hot clients, who are my warm clients. Right now, and it's about 3:30 in the afternoon, all of my hot, warm, and cold clients have been taken care of. I will spend the rest of the day talking to clients who are looking for properties $2 million and higher that have been crawling my website in the last 7 days that I haven't talked to. Just another way I slice the data. Any questions? Any questions at all? Yes or no? I've put my contact information on the screen. Feel free to reach out. I enjoy talking about this. This journey will continue. Last year, it was the MLS and calling active clients. This year, it's artificial intelligence. Next year, I don't know what it'll be. Brian says, does it also narrow searches if someone starts being more consistent with the area? Brian, yes. The answer is yes. It can change it on where they're looking. It can change it on price point. It can change it on attributes like bedrooms and bathrooms. They're called dynamic searches. I don't do static Facebook ads anymore. They're dynamic. They keep changing based on what my clients have in the database. Also, when we send out emails with new listings, that search changes. It's dynamic based on what they're clicking on and what they're looking at. That's a whole nother conversation in terms of dynamic marketing on social media and with the listing alerts, if you would. That's a whole another level of technology separate from artificial intelligence. Has this hour been useful? Yes or no? And be honest with me. You invested an hour of your time. My job is to make sure you walk away with something of value. Hey, Jessica. My contact information is on the screen. If there's anything you need, feel free to reach out. My website is there, my email address, and my phone number. All right. If there's no more questions, Gina, is there anything we need to do to close out the seminar?
No, just a reminder to everyone that this was recorded and recordings will be available sometime next week to everyone who attended. And thank you, Mike, and thank you everyone for being here today.
And my thanks to Raism for allowing me to share. I love to do this kind of stuff. And Gina, thank you for putting up with me in the pre-session and getting this thing set up the right way. Thank you.
Of course. All right, everyone, you have a great day.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you.